So when Jerry reached out to me, he was so sweet. He's been so patient, and I have just been heads down doing what I've been doing, and I haven't been as responsive as I should be. But he asked me, "Do you have slides?" And I was like, I don't have like wisdom to impart here. Okay, like these are like learnings from, I wouldn't call it failures, but basically like tests and trials and errors, and then coming from one step to the next to be here. So no slides. I'm gonna keep it conversational. So I'll just go a little bit through kind of what my journey has been, and then I would really love for just open it up. Like honestly, there's far more value, and you guys are all going through different phases of your life. So like, throw a question. I'll see if I had something that was similar, or I'll open the floor and we can just have a conversation. If that's okay. Awesome. So, hi everybody. I'm going to be reading off of a phone. Okay, I can't memorize this, but I'm really excited to be here today. So, I'm Deboshree Dutta, founder and CEO of Criya AI. And it is an absolute honor, to be honest. It's an absolute honor to be here in the presence of this privileged audience. And I do want to thank Jerry and team. I mean, this is a labor of love. I'm pretty sure this is not easy to put together. I've tried. I've been on Women in Product. I'm one of the founding members of Women in Products Peninsula SF chapter, and trying to secure a venue, trying to get the word out, trying to get audience, trying to like get all of this together to make this happen is a massive feat, and we didn't do it well. So thank you, Catherine, thank you everyone for making this a possibility, and thank you Joe and Neon for also like, facilitating and making this happen. So really appreciate you guys and appreciate you all. Awesome. So part of, I'll tell you why I do this. So just a quick intro to me, right? So I go by Deb, by the way. I'm Deboshree Dutta. Most people will not get it. So when I came for my first job interview, I interned at Microsoft, and then I moved to the Bay Area for love. And I remember interviewing at a job, and it was the final round, and the SVP came in to kind of pull me out of the lobby, and he was trying to read my name. He's like, he's like, Deb? I was like, yes, I'll take it. So since then, I've been Deb for the last 10 years. So I go by Deb. And today at Criya, what we're doing is we're building a world where you can build fantastic, visually amazing content. Now, we focus a little bit more on sales and prospecting assets. So whether that's a pitch deck, that's a buyer engagement portal, that's a microsite, and so on. So I focus my effort there. But the core of why I do this is I love design. I love good-looking things. It's a big part of my skill set. I love taking something that is normal and making it pleasing. So my whole thing at Criya that we're doing is, imagine a world where you have notes, PDFs, your website, and things that your product does, and so on. But you're not a marketer. Maybe you're a product manager. Maybe you're a sales guy. Really, your skill set is talking to customers, convincing them to pay that check. You don't have a copywriter. You don't have the best emails. You don't have the best pitch decks, and so on, right? So what we do is we take that out of your equation and make it easy for you. So what we're really trying to do is build fabulous looking prospecting assets, go-to-market assets, entirely with your branding, your colors, your logos, alignment, fonts. You're not going to worry about it's looking misaligned, things like that, right? Like that's kind of where my passion is. So we have an AI visual designer, we have an AI writer, and we use RAG to essentially take publicly available content that you upload, and generate these fantastic looking assets. That's kind of what we do. So for me, one last thing I'll say about Criya before I get into the journey is I'm a huge believer in personalizing any conversation. So whether I'm talking to an investor, I'm talking to a customer, I want them to feel like they're the only person that matters to me. And I try to bring that into the work that we do. So any email that you send out, any content that you put in front of your SVP or any content like a pitch deck that you send out to a bio, make them feel like they're the only one that matters, put in that extra effort, make it look extra special, but you don't need to do it all on your own. My product does that for you. So if you have any questions about it, just sign up on Criya.co and my company will help you with it. Awesome. So who am I, right? So quickly, this is like my spiel and someone asked me this. I am born in India. I've always been a computer nerd. I come from a very middle class home, guys. So my whole thing was, I studied computer science in India. I came to Carnegie Mellon to do computer science. Got my first job as an engineer at Microsoft. And really, for me, the whole American dream was pay off my loans and send money back home, get married, probably start a family, and honestly, those days, FANG wasn't a thing. Like, I'm talking 15 years ago. FANG was not a thing. Like, F was just getting started, right? Like, so Mank was maybe a thing at the time, whatever. And I was at an M, so it was nice. I took the internship, got married, and all these fun things. Truthfully, I think what came to be was, in a nutshell, my journey has been, I was an engineer. Through that journey, I remember feeling like, wow, like my whole identity is who I am to this boss and to this company, and that's really all that matters. Like, if my boss got fired, nobody else in this company actually really knows what I do. And it bothered me. So it became important to me that I start investing in my personal brand. I'm talking about, I was probably 5 years into a job. So investing in making me an entity that's known became crucial. So things like these events weren't as popular at the time. Product management wasn't as popular at the time. And I remember I wanted to get into product management and so on. So long story short, I started actively doing things like volunteering at events, and one thing led to another, where I was invited to found the Women in Product Bay Area chapter. I was one of the first faces on ProductCon. If you know, you'll actually see me on, they have these really fabulous images of ProductCon from like back in the day. You'll see me in there. I was like, wow, I should get credit for that. So I just raised my hand and did a lot of product work very early on outside of my company, which opened up insane number of doors for me. So opportunities like this, and the reason Jerry and folks put up the effort to create these types of communities is for you to take advantage of beyond just networking, right? Like, use it, be a speaker tomorrow, make your presence felt. It goes a long way. I'm sharing this, I'll tell you why in a second, and that's where the immigrant thing comes in. So anyway, I'm digressing. So 12 years in the industry, master's in computer science from Carnegie Mellon. I was head of product for several years at PayPal. I used to lead PayPal's entire AI-driven customer success agent experiences, did a lot of entrepreneurship work there, did some like boot camps, tried to make my name and things like that. And it was awesome. Eventually, on the side, I always had a side gig. I have about 150,000 followers on Instagram. I think it's 170 now. I've worked with several global brands. I have a big LinkedIn following. And all this didn't happen because I work at PayPal. This happened because I did other things. So I was even eventually invited to come and write for Forbes. I was invited to come speak at Harvard Business School. I'm on the advisory board for entrepreneurship for Carnegie Mellon. None of this is because of my job title. This is all because of things I did on the side. So I highly encourage people to invest in their brands. And that's a big part of what has paid off for me to launch into entrepreneurship. So my whole thing was how Criya came about is kind of fascinating. Today, we are a complete B2B company. But when I started, I had this Instagram following, and I was diligent about it. I would take the pictures, I would do the outfits, I would post, and Instagram was a friendlier place back then. Like, TikTok didn't exist, Snap was just coming about, so it was like this one algorithm to learn, and we did. It was pure strategy. It was my first attempt at actually learning marketing. That's something that I would never do in my job. My job was product management, learning about SMBs and what are the issues, and like writing like product requirement documents for that, right? But things that I ended up doing on the side, one is these speeches. developing a community, developing a reputation. But also through my Instagram work, one thing led to another. And I had a lot of people kind of literally DMing me on Instagram saying, hey Deb, I saw that you did this talk the other day. Can you mentor me? And I was like, yeah, I can mentor. Like I do mentoring at work. So one thing led to another, and I was like, hold on, like if I'm mentoring, a whole other bunch of people are mentoring, maybe I actually don't care, I can't scale myself. So I was like, can I turn this into a service? Can I monetize this? And bear in mind, I'm talking about 3 or 4 years ago when we never heard of TopMate and these like a bazillion mentoring programs that became huge through COVID. I'm talking prior to that. So my first attempt was actually to launch Criya, which I coded myself. I actually coded the entire first version of Criya. Like nobody should ever use that product, but coded it. And really the objective of it was, let me see what happens. So I remember I put it out. I was leaving for a trip for Greece with my husband. I put it out saying, hey guys, I put a website together. You can book time with me. And this is pre-Calendly days, okay? And it was just like a hacky shit job. Put it out, and I took it was not Uber, taxi those days. I went to the airport. 2 hours after check-in, I checked and had 50 bookings in 2 hours. And I was like, holy shit. One, I don't know if I'm smart enough to mentor 50 people. I don't think I have that level of skill set. I don't have that much confidence in me. But secondly, they were willing to pay me money. They wanted a simple way to access me and so on. So that was the birth of Criya. So I actually came back from Greece and spent a month coding the actual Criya product, which is what I took to Y Combinator, which is where we had traction. We raised a shit ton of money through venture and so on. So that's actually the birth of it. So realistically, this is how it all came about. It didn't come to me organically. There was no like ready-made PRD, ready-made customers, ready-made business plan, nothing. It was organic. And I do call myself an accidental entrepreneur. I never thought I'll be an entrepreneur. I was trying to start a family and make babies. Okay, like that was my whole strategy. And I still think that's a great thing that I should be doing, but just saying. So I do want to call out the fact that building a tech startup, I got into it with naivety. I love building product. That's my core skill set. I love it. I'm a hardcore technologist. I love the idea of coding. I'm a bad coder, but I'm an excellent product manager through a lot of like 10 years of doing this. But I came to realize that starting a tech startup is a beast. Especially given my background, I'm female, solo founder, immigrant, limited resources, some influence, really not many connections. My connections were like fellow product managers, right? I actually didn't know how to start. So I decided I'll do what I can with what I have, right? And what I have is courage, resiliency, experience, technical skills, and I have a real problem that I want to go solve. And I do believe strongly that I am the best person. My background, my experience will help me solve this problem really, really well. I insist on this mindset because when you get into entrepreneurship, you need to have extreme conviction in your ability to fight through this. Not extreme conviction in the solution, but extreme conviction in the fact that this problem is important enough to solve, and you are the right person to go solve it. So what I did was I took a bet on myself. I did something I hadn't done in years, like I said. I went off and started coding. And like I said, no, I didn't have fancy Figma mocks. I didn't have an A/B testing strategy. I didn't have a launch plan. I didn't have money to spend to acquire users. Nothing. I did what PMs do. I went and talked to users. So I created that little version, that first version of Criya after I came back from Greece. And I literally cold DM'd every day. I would make a list and I cold DM 50 people on Instagram. And then I would go search for like their friends and friends or whatever, friends and family, and find 50 more emails that I would send cold emails to. This is hardcore marketing. This is basically what people do. And that's what I did. So it became a discipline where I stopped posting about Instagram about my outfits and shit, and then I switched to doing this, and I did it diligently. And people would, it's shocking when like complete strangers are like, yeah, I'll talk to you. This sounds like a good idea. Some people talk to you because they want to shit on your idea. Some people talk to you because they think you are cool. You've no idea what attracts people to taking and giving you their time. But when someone gives you their time, it's insane. It's fucking insane. Sorry. So what I started doing was like, I would offer them $5 gift cards because that's what I could afford for spending 20 minutes with me. And that's actually how this started going, because initially I would talk to them and they would just say, yeah, this is a cool idea. Yeah. And I was like, no, I want legit feedback. Would you pay money for this? How would you use it? Where would you use it? And so on. And so that became very valuable. And I think I iterated over it for about, I'd say 100 days. And I know in 100 days, I had 100 users. And that's when I was like, holy shit, like, this is bigger than me, okay? This is not something that I started to do. It just came. And I was like, I need an engineer. There are feature requests. People want to add video. Like, there's all these different things. So 2 years after that, here I am today. At that point, there was this whole big decision about quitting, applying to Y Combinator as a solo female immigrant founder without a team, who just somehow managed the immigration journey, and that's for another time with EB1A and things like that. And I got accepted, which is crazy at the time, and then there I was like, okay, now let's go raise capital. So we ended up raising a really sexy amount of capital. There was a good market. They loved the idea, brought an amazing team. And then we all of a sudden went from me building this random thing, coming back from Greece for fun, to now running a full-blown venture startup, quitting PayPal, giving up nice stock options, stability, family plans, all those different things to go start this. So that's really how it happened. I have one small thing that I want to share, and then I'll jump to open questions, okay? I had written this down. Whoops, can you hear me? Yeah. I'd written this down. I want to say it exactly the way I did. This is actually the same speech that I gave as the keynote for Women in Product about 2 years ago. So I'm sharing all of this about my journey, not for any other reason except actually being a PM is really what prepared me for this. I have engineering background, now I have the marketing background and so on, but being a PM played a massive role in preparing me for this journey without actually knowing it. So you've heard this, right? PMs are the CEO of the product. I honestly never appreciated that sentence until I got into it, and I was like, wow, that is so far from the truth, but also kind of so close to the truth if you look at it that way, right? So as a PM, I would implore you to take a deep look at your own journey, because what you're learning and what you're amazing at, it's because, everything that you're doing today, you have the power to influence real human lives, real businesses, real human lives. That's actually what a PM does. I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and talking about, how hard it is to get into PM. I was like, it is. And it's a shit ton of responsibility, because truthfully, as a PM, you're being paid money to be a thinker. You're just thinking. You're not writing code. You're not writing shit. You're not like fixing bugs. No. You are thinking and then convincing a bunch of people to follow your dreams. So it's a massive amount of responsibility. And I think we should take it quite seriously. Like, it's a massive opportunity to influence real lives. Because being a founder, right, it's all about solving a real problem. And there's a huge impact that you can have on a massive, massive audience. And what that really means is, for me, my day-to-day is literally what a PM does. Talking to customers, identifying pain points, prioritizing requirements, defining. Every day is an MVP journey, by the way. Every day you're trying the next small MVP to release. Running experiments, coming up with hypotheses, pricing, looking at data, problems to solve. Does it sound familiar? This is basically what we do. And that is in a nutshell, what I do as a founder. Of course, there's years of other stuff like legal, accounting, payroll, and investor relationships. You learn that. you learn that just like you learn a lot of other things along life. But stuff you get to do as a PM is what really prepares you for being a fantastic founder. So I really think do an awesome job at your job because that can make you an amazing entrepreneur tomorrow. Yeah, and that's basically what got me to YC. And like Y Combinator says, make things that people want. It's very simple. Forget the titles, size of the company you're at, whether you're a FANG or not, really doesn't matter. Devote your time and energy to having an impact. And honestly, the rest will follow. So that's basically what I have to share.
I think Deb needs to be on a hot seat. What do you all think?
I got it. Okay. Please.
I can talk.
Okay.
So,
Mark, Deb, sorry to interrupt you, Mark.
Yeah,
if you can repeat the question for the video. Because these are actually put over globally. That 160,000 people have all access to these videos. So, smiles.
Quick question, Jay. I think I saw my husband and our two
No,
dogs.
he didn't pay the $100.
Okay, he
Get it.
didn't.
No, I will get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see him anymore, but I saw him while I was talking. Okay.
I'll go check.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So now, as a founder who's dealing with scale issues, do you feel like you have to let go of the PM responsibilities, and how do you hand that to somebody else?
Yeah, that's a great question. I dealt with it pretty. So yes, we're about 2.5 years in, right? So for some of you, actually, how Criya came about was we were firstly a solopreneur-facing product. That's actually what we were for a while. We had about 40,000, services businesses on the platform, and we still do. And it was awesome, right? At the time, I was doing product, and then very quickly, I had to just hand the reins off to my CTO and move into doing full-on marketing. It was awesome till some of the realities of consumer startups started to come upon us, where like some of the traction versus the venture expectations, things like that, and we had to make some changes within the strategy. So at that point, I had to come back and get back into product mode because I had to stop doing sales at the time. So at the time, because we had a repeatable motion, I was able to hire an account executive and they were able to run the motion for some time. But it wasn't growth, it was sustenance for some time. And now to your point, now we're a full B2B arm. So it's interesting because I thought, okay, great, we have the product that we've developed, I'll get right back into it and start doing sales. And I did it for a while and I realized, oh, this is a whole other skill set. And I actually needed to hire for it. So while I did sales for a while, till we got our first initial design partners and customers, I actually went off and hired a head of sales. So now I can get back into more product stuff. But it's a dance because we're doing some crucial stuff. But I'm pretty sure next I'll need to hire a full-on product person so I can go off and do my fundraising and so on, because I basically am like the whack-a-mole, right? Like I'm just like, oh, there's a gap here, and I just have to fill in. But today I can spend more time on product strategy versus like deliverables and Scrum and stuff like that, right? But I do know that at this phase, that needs me more because now we have someone to handle sales for us. I hope that answers. Go ahead.
Did you ever think about finding a co-founder and what made you decide to be a solo founder versus going for it?
So the question is, did you want a co-founder and what made you decide to not have one? I would never recommend being a solo founder. Okay. Yes. It's never by choice, I can assure you. I have been on the lookout for a co-founder since the day I even considered this. And sometimes you don't know. It's like finding a spouse. And I didn't know that at the time. You don't know actually what you're doing. And so you're looking for someone who just shares, is like willing to jump in with you and do a few things. And it's not the best way. You don't, like, this is a commitment for many years. And it takes the life out of you. It takes the life out of your family at times. So you do need a partner in this journey and not a buddy who is willing to code with you or, do some like events with you. So I was on the lookout, but I was picky. And I knew that going into this as a solo founder is going to be 100x harder for me. Being a female solo founder is going to be probably 1,000x harder for me. And I knew that. So my husband and I had conversations about what does this mean, right? Like, I know that my journey is much harder. But the nice thing about life is when you stop expecting, some awesome things happen. So I just put my head down and I just kept working. And Y Combinator happened. We raised a pretty amazing round. We have through amazing our VCs are the backers of Shopify, Canva, Notion, and these guys. So we have incredible VCs. I thought they will solve my co-founder problem. They'll get me someone. Didn't. But one thing led to another, and I met our CTO, Dennis. I mean, he came in after we raised our funding. So in every capacity, he's basically someone that I rely on, including my husband. Like today morning, we were basically fighting like a spouse would fight with a spouse. And both our spouses are on the other side, like, can you guys calm down, right? Like, it's like that. You find someone, but you have to wait for the right fit. And so, yeah, don't try and do this alone if you can help it, but don't let it stop you, because the more traction you have, the higher the quality of talent you're able to attract, which I thought was important for me. When I just had an idea and a vision, I probably would not have been able to attract the type of talent I have today as I did much earlier on. That helps. Go ahead.
Hi. So my question really is how long, so I founded my company 4 months ago, and I still feel like, and you touched on this a little bit recently, about product management is great. There's everything else. There's the contracts, there's the legal, there's the finance, the this, and there's the boring stuff that I feel like I'm utterly reactive at, and I don't get to do what I want to do, which I can do, which is the product owner side. How long do you feel like it took before you felt like you weren't just being reactive, putting fire out there, fire out there, fire out there, and you can actually take a step back and strategize?
It's a very fair question, and my husband is here. He can attest to this. I think it took me a little bit of, just being very transparent here, it took me a little bit of hitting rock bottom. And that's when I actually, end of last year, I actually was just putting out fires to the point where I remember I had this app on my phone for our support tickets, and every time it would go ting, I would literally have this whole moment of I cannot go back to sleep. And it was maybe just a simple support ticket, but how your brain just gets programmed to stress. And I'm dealing with that, and my husband telling me, you should hire someone, and we have a support guy. You know what I'm saying? I have an accountant, I have a support guy, I have people who I pay a little bit of money to help me, but it's more the risk. You feel like you need to be in it, and you need to have the responsibility, otherwise shit's gonna go down, kind of thing. I think that really got me too close to a burnout. So I did take some time. I did take time toward the end of last year, and I said I'm gonna actually sign out for about 2 weeks. And my team was super supportive of it. We were already doing fine. And I just took off. I was just I need to come back. Came back early this year with very strategic, very specific things. I'm I will not do meetings on a Saturday and a Sunday. It's fine if a contract went a day late. Seriously, it's okay. Firstly, they're never going to sign that contract immediately. They're going to go back and forth. They're going to negotiate. So some things that I was building up in my head, oh shit, that email didn't sound right, and things like that, I came to realize it's okay. And it was a huge mental shift for me, to be honest, Vivek. I had to go through it, and my family had to go through it. My parents came to stay with me. They witnessed it. So it was a bit of a mindset shift versus feeling like you just have to go do all this stuff. Point being that it's not like you'll be able to hire people all the time to do shit for you, right? But I think it's about realizing that right now your energy, given the company is about 4 months old, your energy is basically in 2 places: customers and quality of service. That's it. If your bills are paid a day late, it's fine. If your contract doesn't exactly sound right, you guys are not huge yet that someone's going to come sue you. You know what I'm saying? Some ask for apologize, right? If something's screwed up. And I've learned to accept. People get over it. They won't hold you up to it, right? So but yeah, as a founder, super clear priorities, and just don't feel guilty about other stuff. Yeah. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hi. Thank you. If Deb today was to travel back to Deb 5 years ago, what advice would you, and some of it you may already said, what advice would you give yourself that would have made the journey from 5 years ago to today much smoother? Two-part question, because we talked about contracts a second ago, which is, would you do this again? But that's the second question. Did you guys all hear this?
I'll repeat the question. So the first question was advice for Deb 5 years ago versus to maybe that would make this journey a little bit easier. And the second question was, would you do it again? Anything that related. So super transparently, I will answer the second question first, which is, I think for me, I like I said, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I don't have these grand dreams of being some billion-dollar like CEO. It's not me. I'm not that person. I love the work and I love the journey of it. I'm not driven by some big financial outcome or some big grand like moment on like TechCrunch. I'm just not driven by that. So honestly, what got me into it was actually naivety. I just thought I'll get to do a lot more of what I love to do. So if anything, I'm glad I didn't know how hard this journey is going to be, because nothing makes it easier. Experience makes it not easier, you just get better at the hard stuff. That's really what it is. Nothing makes this easier. Everything that I know today, I know my journey up is Series A, Series B, Series C. You think that's easy? None of this makes that easy. But you just get good at handling hard stuff, right? So my advice to like someone who was 5 years ago was probably this. I wish I started earlier. I am older now. I am tired now. I want to sleep at a reasonable time. I feel like when I was in my 20s or even early, so I started the company at 35. And I was doing all this Instagram stuff. I would like spend hours. I ran it like a business. So I had a lot more energy in me. That's the only thing. I just wish I had the courage and the vision to be like, you got this. Just go try it. And that's the only thing I wish I had. I was an immigrant, so it wasn't that easy because I didn't have a visa, green card, and all that, but glad that came about. And would I do it again? Ask me in 5 years. Actually, ask him if he like. Yeah, it's a tough journey. And I think I'm also in that phase of the entrepreneurship journey where it is tough. Maybe a few years from now, I don't think it gets easier. You just are more comfortable with the choices you're making. I think that's basically what it is. Go ahead.
I have a question for you. I have been a product manager for over 12 years. And a few months back, I started a company, small business. In my mind, it was like a side hustle. It was something that I would do on the side. And I took that opportunity because I got laid off and I have a pretty good severance package. And I thought, I want to invest this money. But I was thinking, maybe I can try this small business thing, and at the same time, I can continue, looking for a job, for something more stable. But the more time that I invest in this business, it's growing really fast. It's a doggy daycare that I just opened,
awesome.
and it's in this area in Lombard and Franklin. If you guys, any of you have any pets?
I love it. Love it.
We'll give you a free day.
So marketing and the freebie thrown in.
Anyway, so it's been 3 months, and I wasn't expecting for this business to grow that fast. So I'm at a point that I'm actually making money. And I'm at this crossroad that I was like, I'm trying to think about, this was always in my mind, a side business, that if I find the right people, which I have right now 6 people in my staff that is working, and I think I can delegate a lot of the tasks that I'm doing and focus on a more product management related work. So the question to you is, should I dedicate more time to the business? Should I continue looking for this? What would you, if you were in that situation?
I was, yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the question is, essentially, since the last few months, you've been on your job search journey, you have significant product experience, you're looking for the right role, but in parallel, you've basically started a side hustle, which is a doggy daycare. It's an amazing business, especially in the marina. Everyone has a doggy. And it's growing. You've not only just started the business, you have staff, you have revenue, and so on. So it's amazing. And the question is, this is time consuming. Obviously, you cannot do both equally well, so you have to pick. It's a great question. I had a similar, but not exactly the same thing. So, and I will be honest, I think it is a gut thing, and I'll tell you what I did. When I was, so my side hobby, as I mentioned when I started, I love aesthetic things. I love photography, I love interior design, I love fashion, I love curation, and so on. So this is my side hobby. So my Instagram actually took off because I had fantastic home decor content, which turned into fashion content. And as someone who basically grew up with hoodies and sweatshirts, I was getting contracts with Abercrombie, and I've represented over 250 brands. I was one of the OG influencer, wasn't even a word those days. We were just bloggers. But we traveled to Greece. We traveled all over the world. So we were not just making money. We were literally living a fantastic life while I was doing my 9 to 5 or whatever. Like, there's no 9 to 5 in tech, right? Like, I was doing this job while basically running this. And I remember at one point my husband telling me, and my friends telling me, why? Because I'm like, sometimes I'm at like a 6 a.m. call with the team in India, trying to manage the team in Dublin, and like pissed off and all this stuff, right? And I loved doing what I was doing on the side. He's like, quit and do that. And I was like, it's nice if I was someone who wanted this to be my business. I wanted to be an influencer. I can keep doing this for the rest of my life, meaning once I'm 40, once I'm 50, once I'm 70, till the day I choose to retire, this is going to be my line of growth. It's going to satisfy me not just financially, it's going to satisfy me intellectually, ambitiously, all the other things that I think are important for not just wealth, but self-being and all of that. For me, I don't think that was it. But I didn't let it go, because one thing led to another, and about 2 years later, I used that channel to turn it into a tech product. So you never know what this is a start of. Don't give up on it or feel like you have to make a choice. But I would think a little bit more long-term about, listen, you're an amazing product guy. You've kicked off a business that's working. Maybe it'll become something, maybe it won't, but give it a little bit more time. You'll know where to take it.
So I can do, for now, until I figured it out, I can still do both.
And you have to set boundaries, because obviously the more time you put into something. So the question was, should I do both? My answer being that whatever you put time and love into will grow. Okay? You cannot do it equally. So if you want your product career to grow, you're going to have to put more time and love into it, which means you have to manage your expectations. Maybe you don't want this to be a $700K or $1 million revenue business today. For today, maybe it's okay at where it is, and let it play out.
Thank you. Last question. Jacob.
So I was curious, what do you think is was the greatest benefit of being part of the product management community, in your case, women in product, and why do you think it was so successful?
So you're talking from entrepreneurship perspective, right?
Oh, yeah, or in general with your craft or anything.
Right. Sorry, the question is, what did I personally see any benefits of being part of a community, whether it's a product community, women product community, and so on? Tremendously. I see benefits on so many folds, and your choice of tribe evolves as you grow in life and your career grows. So when I was early days, how did I get into product? I didn't get into product, y'all. Like, I was an engineer, and nobody is handing out product jobs to anyone. Nobody was handing that out today. Nobody was doing that 10 years ago or 12 years ago. Honestly, at the time when I was looking for product, the minimum requirements was you need to have an MBA. That was the whole thing. And I was like, I'm not going to go pay 120 grand to get an MBA. I don't need that. Sorry, just me. How did I get into it? Communities. I started volunteering at those days. There were a whole bunch of like expat women community, this and that. And like I said, it's my personal brand that got me in front of people, that got me opportunities, and also got me like some things look so difficult to crack. It's not. You just need the right help and the support system, and the community does that for you. So it's kind of how I cracked product and got into a small little startup that eventually got acquired, that was acquired by Hitachi, and one thing led to another. That's my product life. Just getting an access. Founder life, this community is not the community for me, because you absolutely have not experienced what a founder experiences, especially early days, financial crunches, managing family, managing customer, all these things, right? So Y Combinator gave me that community, which I cannot live, I cannot breathe without them. And now it's 2.5 years. We still have the same group of founders that we meet every 2 weeks for the last 2 years without fail, because we've become family. They've gone through business pivots. I've gone through business pivots. Someone's kid is autistic. Someone's, just had a new baby. Like, all these are part of your learning. So it is important that how do you balance this stuff. So this is one. So this is just like your growth. But as a company, what became interesting for me was, now that I have credibility with some communities, I can sell into these communities, which is very interesting, because when you're starting a company or a product line, you don't start by selling to the whole world. Okay, like, you don't, like, if you're starting an iPhone, you're not likely, you can sell to the whole world possibly, but you need a beachhead. You need an entry point. And usually entry points are communities. That's why there are developer communities, there are crypto communities, there's all these different communities. So that's why it goes a long way, not just for personal growth, but also for whatever your business objectives are. That helps.
Thank you, Deb.
Thanks, guys. This is fun.